Joining me now is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. She is the author of the new book, Electable: Why America Hasn't Put a Woman in the White House Yet, which is out today. We're so excited to have your first big Dayside interview.
Yeah, first big one.
Hey.
You've got your copy in person.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a very big deal.
Thank you.
So let's get into the book. But first, I want to ask your reaction to Capitol Hill and those McConnell comments. He seems to be both separating himself from Trump and the deniers, you know, as well as there's election fraud everywhere contingent of the Republican Party.
Unsurprising, right, to watch him put that separation there between him and Trump. But at the same time, the fact that he doesn't want this to be an election that's about threats to democracy, he wants it to be the second thing on that list, which is cost of living and the economy, because that's what Republicans want to make this a referendum on.
But, of course, by the very candidates, first, Trump injecting himself into the situation, and the very candidates that Trump has chosen have made it, as McConnell said, a question of the quality of candidates they've got. So he acknowledged that he's concerned. Yeah,
acknowledged that. And it's not the first time he said it either. I remember the end of last year, he said this at an end-of-year press conference where he was talking about it's the quality of candidates. And he hearkened back to the Todd Akins who jeopardized what he saw as winnable races in the past. That's what he's seeing with people like Herschel Walker in Georgia and others in Arizona and Pennsylvania as well. So certainly some eyebrow-raising comments, but not surprising if you've been following along with McConnell.
You know, getting to the politics of women running for president and electable, well, why is electability an issue only when we're talking about women candidates?
It's a great question because every candidate is judged on their electability. And as I write in the book, they should be. Voters want to choose someone who can win, especially in 2020. You and I were on the campaign trail. Democratic voters, the only thing that they all agreed on is the fact that they just needed someone who could beat Trump. And the fact that they came out with Joe Biden as the candidate on that, using words like safe, they're comfortable with him, unrisky. I don't know that those are words that you could ever apply to a female candidate, in part because we've never seen it done before. And so voters not only have to envision those candidates in the White House, but then make that imaginary jump to envisioning something they haven't seen before. But then it's also, who do we give that benefit of the doubt to? Because electability at the end of the day is a metric of benefit of the doubt. Who do you think voters will show up for on Election Day? And in the end, the benefit of the doubt wasn't given to women and generally isn't.
And when Hillary Clinton first ran and I was covering her in her first race, it was all about proving she's tough enough. She could be commander-in-chief, never showing vulnerability. Interestingly, when she finally fought back in the New Hampshire primary, it was after, you know, tearing up at the diner that morning and showing vulnerability and emotion.
Exactly. After,
you know, Barack Obama said, well, you're likable enough.
Which, what a moment on that debate stage, right? Like right now, you could never imagine a debate moderator saying, what are you going to do about the likability metric?
And when you were covering Elizabeth Warren this time around, how did electability fit into that?
It fit quite heavily for Warren, for Klobuchar, for Gillibrand, for Harris, for all of the women who ran in 2020, in part because I think Democratic voters were experiencing a little bit of a hangover from 2016, where many of them would say to me, well, Hillary Clinton was supposed to win and she didn't, although she did win by the popular vote metric, and that's not how we elect presidents in this country. So for electability, for people like Warren and Klobuchar, there were various points in the primary where they were asked about this. For example, on the debate stage in Iowa, you and I covering that moment between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
Boy.
What a moment where finally we were saying the quiet part out loud of can a woman win and can a woman beat Donald Trump? He was a complicating factor in all of this, too, because he campaigned in such a hyper-masculine way. And the women in this field in 2020 had the benefit of watching what worked for Hillary Clinton. They had a landscape around them that had, frankly, become more comfortable with the idea of the girl boss. It was celebrated to be a feminist icon in that moment. It's different than in 2008 when you were covering Clinton. The landscape shifted around her. She was able to campaign in a little bit more of a vulnerable and gender-facing way in 2016.
And, in fact, launched her campaign in 2016, talking about her mother and her role as a woman, as a grandmother.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's fascinating. And we have to think about Kamala Harris and what happens next if Joe Biden doesn't run. She would be the presumptive nominee.
Yeah, and for Kamala Harris, she's an example of something that I also talk about in the book, the idea of being elevated but not elected. We know what happened with her campaign, but now she's in a position where she's the highest-ranking woman, the first female vice president we've ever had. That matters immensely.
And first vice president of color.
Exactly.
So much hidden in here. The book is great.
Thank you.
And Ali Vitale.
With a blurb from you on the cover.
And, well...